My name is Walter Harris, 74 years old. Dallas, Texas has been my home my entire life. People look at me and see nothing, just an old man, wrinkled hands, a tired back, a quiet life in a small wooden house. But that night, at my daughter's dinner table, my son-in-law leaned back in his chair with a glass of wine in his hand and a smirk across his face. He said the words that cut deeper than a knife. "You're just a poor old man, Walter. You should be grateful I let you sit here." The room went silent. Even my daughter looked down. I heard my heart beating in my ears. I wanted to shout, to slam the table, but I didn't. I just looked at him, and I smiled, because he had no idea. No idea who I really was. No idea what I had built. No idea the fire still burning inside me. I spent a lifetime working steel, bricking my body to feed my family. Every dollar saved, every acre bought, every sacrifice hidden behind these quiet eyes. And now, this arrogant boy thinks he can humiliate me, call me worthless, in front of my family. He believes I am weak. He believes I am broke. He believes I am nothing. But what he doesn't know is that silence can be the sharpest weapon, and the quietest man can hold the deadliest revenge. This isn't just another family drama. It's my story. And if you've ever been underestimated, stay with me, because what I did next will make you question every smile around a dinner table. And yes, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. My name is Walter Harris. I'm 74 years old. Dallas, Texas has been my home my entire life. People drive past my small wooden house and see nothing. They see peeling paint, a rusted mailbox, an old truck that hasn't moved in years. To them, I am invisible, just another poor old man, someone waiting for the grave. But here's what they don't know. I built my life with steel and sweat. I woke up before dawn every day for 40 years, worked 12-hour shifts in the Texas heat. My hands bled, my back broke, but I never stopped. Every dollar I saved went into land. Every acre I bought was another piece of my future. I didn't buy fancy cars. I didn't take vacations. I didn't live loud. I lived quiet. And in silence, I built something no one could see. Now, at 74, I wear old boots. I shop at the dollar store, and I sit alone on my porch. But don't mistake silence for the weakness, and don't mistake age for poverty, because inside this old man is a fire that never went out, a fire forged in steel, in sacrifice, in years of being underestimated. And when my son-in-law looked me in the eye and called me just a poor old man, he lit that fire all over again. This is where my story begins. His name is Ryan Miller, 40 years old, born and raised right here in Dallas. On the surface, he looks successful. Pressed shirts, shiny shoes, a gold watch that catches the light at every dinner. He tells everyone he's a businessman, that he's building a future, that he's smarter than the rest of us. But here's the truth. His bar on Main Street bleeds money every month. His credit cards are maxed out. His name is whispered in banks across Texas, and not in a good way. Ryan married my daughter 3 years ago. He promised her the world, a big house, vacations, security. Instead, he gave her debt. And worse, he gave her shame. He looks at me and sees weakness. He sees an old man in worn-out boots, a man he thinks he can push aside. At family dinners, he talks louder than anyone else. He leans back in his chair like he owns the room, and every word out of his mouth is a reminder that he thinks respect can be bought. But respect isn't bought. Respect is earned, and Ryan has earned nothing. To my daughter, he plays the role of the charming husband, but to me, he is a parasite, a man feeding off the life of others, waiting for someone else's sacrifice to make him rich. And the day he looked at me and told me I was just a poor old man was the day I knew his time was running out. Her name is Emily Miller, my only daughter, my pride, my reason for breathing. I raised her alone after her mother passed. She was 10, too young to understand death. but old enough to cling to me in the middle of the night, crying. I gave her everything I could. Not riches, not luxury, but safety, a home, a father who would never walk away. And when she met Ryan, she believed he was strong. She believed he could give her the things I couldn't. Big dreams, big promises, big lies. Now I watch her smile fade more each day. Her shoulders slump under the weight of his debts. Her eyes avoid mine at the dinner table. Because deep down, she knows. She knows her husband is not the man he claimed to be. And yet, she is torn. Torn between blood and vows. Between the father who raised her and the husband she chose. Ryan whispers in her ear that I'm holding them back. That my stubbornness is why they can't move forward. That I am the problem. She doesn't say it out loud, but I see the doubt in her eyes. The distance in her voice, the way she flinches when I tell her I'll protect her, it breaks me. Because the daughter I once held in my arms is slipping away, and the man responsible sits across from me, smiling. It started with a house, the old 2-story home my father built with his own hands. The house where Emily took her first steps. The house where her mother took her last breath. To me, it is sacred. To Ryan, it is cash. One night at dinner, he leaned forward, his voice calm, his smile rehearsed. Emily, we should sell your dad's house. We could use the money for the bar, for our future. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Emily looked at me, her eyes uncertain. Her hands trembled in her lap. I said one word, no. Ryan chuckled. Come on, Walter. It's falling apart. What good is it to anyone? Let's put it to work. Let's move forward. But I knew what he meant. He meant his future, his debts, his greed. Emily whispered, maybe he's right, Dad. And that cut deeper than Ryan's words ever could. I clenched my fist under the table. Every vein in my hand screamed. But I kept my voice steady. This house isn't for sale. The air went cold. Ryan leaned back, sipping his wine, smirking. See, Emily, he'll never let us grow. He's dragging us down. And in that moment, I saw it. The wedge he was driving deeper and deeper between me and my daughter. The house was just the beginning. His plan was bigger, darker, and I was standing in his way. It happened on a Sunday. After church, we gathered at my sister's house in Oak Cliff. A long table filled with food, family, neighbors, old friends. For a moment, I felt proud. Laughter, warmth, the kind of noise that makes a man forget his age. Until Ryan opened his mouth. He stood up, glass in hand, his gold watch catching the sunlight. He tapped his spoon against the glass. Everyone, a toast. The room grew quiet. He looked straight at me, and then he smiled. You know, I married Emily for love, but let's be honest, her father, he doesn't bring much to the table. Just a poor old man, living off scraps. We should all be grateful I'm keeping this family afloat. The words dropped like stones. The room froze. Forks stopped midair. My daughter's face turned pale. My sister gasped. I felt the blood rush to my ears. Every instinct told me to stand, to shout, to put him in his place. But I didn't. I sat still. I clenched my jaw, and I lowered my eyes. Ryan laughed, mistaking silence for surrender. See? Even he knows it's true. But he was wrong. So very wrong. Because in that silence, I wasn't surrendering. I was planning. And in that moment, I swore. The man who humiliated me in front of my own blood would pay. That night, after the humiliation, I sat alone on my porch. Dallas air heavy with heat, cicadas screaming in the trees, and my mind went back to the steel mill where I spent most of my life. I was 18 when I first walked in. The noise was deafening, the fire blinding, the work brutal. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sweat burned my eyes. My hands blistered, bled, and scarred. I buried friends who never made it home. Men crushed by machines, men swallowed by fire, Men who gave their lives for a paycheck. I swore I would not waste mine, so I saved. Every dollar, every overtime shift, every bonus I hid away. While other men bought cars, I bought land. While they drank away their weekends, I studied deeds and contracts. I didn't live for the moment. I lived for the future. And Emily was my future, her college, her first car, her wedding dress, all paid for with steel and sacrifice. But I never spoke of what I built. I let people believe I was just another tired old man, because silence protected me, and silence kept my enemies blind. So when Ryan laughed at me, called me poor, he wasn't just mocking an old man. He was mocking every drop of sweat, every scar, every sacrifice that kept this family alive. And that I would not forgive. A week later, the phone rang. It was the bank. Mr. Harris, we need to confirm a withdrawal request from the trust you set up for your grandson. My chest tightened. I never approved any withdrawal, I said. The banker hesitated. But we have your signature on file. Ice crawled down my spine. Send me the papers. Within the hour, I was sitting in the branch manager's office in downtown Dallas. The papers lay on the desk. My name, my signature, but not my hand. The manager leaned forward. Mr. Harris, we've placed a temporary hold on the account until our fraud team completes its review. Do you wish to press charges? I stared at the forged signature. The curves were sloppy. The ink rushed, but the insult, clear. Only Ryan would dare. Only he would be greedy enough to steal from his own son's future. My fists clenched. Heat rose in my chest. This wasn't just money. This was blood. This was betrayal carved in ink. I took the papers, slid them into my folder. Not yet, I said quietly. The manager frowned. Sir? I stood, my jaw tight. This isn't just fraud. This is war. As I walked out into the heavy Texas heat, I felt it. The old silence inside me was gone, replaced by something sharper. Rage. Ryan thought he was clever, that I'd never notice, that I'd stay quiet. But he was wrong, dead wrong. The morning after, I drove downtown, Dallas skyline rising in the heat. My old truck rattled through the traffic. I parked outside a brick building on Commerce Street. Inside, the air smelled of paper and dust. I knew this office well, because for 30 years, James Whitaker had been my lawyer, a friend, a man I trusted. He looked up from his desk as I walked in. Walter, it's been too long. I dropped the folder on his desk, the forged papers, the proof of Ryan's betrayal. James adjusted his glasses. His face darkened. This is serious. We could take him to court, press charges, end him. I shook my head. Not yet, because I didn't want headlines. I didn't want gossip. I wanted precision, quiet justice. I leaned forward. James, I need something airtight, a way to protect Emily, protect my grandson, and a way to make Ryan regret every word he ever said to me. James nodded slowly. I think I know exactly what to do. We spent hours drafting papers, revising trusts, locking down accounts, layer by layer, building a wall Ryan could never climb. By the time I left that office, the sun was setting over Dallas, orange light bouncing off glass towers. And in my hands, I carried more than legal papers. I carried a weapon, not a gun, not a blade, but something far more dangerous, a plan. 2 nights later, Emily came to my house. She stood in the doorway, her face pale, her hands twisting her wedding ring. Dad, please, she whispered. Ryan told me what you're planning. If you push this, it'll destroy us. I set down my coffee cup. The silence stretched. I could hear the cicadas outside. I'm Emily, I said softly. What will destroy you isn't me. It's him. Tears filled her eyes. He's trying, Dad. He just wants a chance. If you forgive him, if you help him, things can change. I shook my head. Her words cut deeper than Ryan's insults, because my own daughter was defending the man who forged my name. I walked to the window, staring out at the dark Dallas street. He stole from your son, Emily. He stole from his future. And you want me to forgive that? She covered her face, her voice cracked. I don't want to choose between my father and my husband. I turned back, my voice steady, cold. You don't have to, because Ryan already made that choice for you. She looked up, trembling. Dad. I stepped closer, lowering my tone. Justice isn't loud. Justice is precise. And I will not let him take one more thing from this family. Her shoulders shook. Her tears fell. And for the first time in my life, my daughter looked at me not as her father, but as the man Ryan should have feared all along. The next morning, I walked back into James Whitaker's office. The papers from the night before still lay across his desk. Walter, he said, have you made your decision? I nodded. Yes, it's time. We sat together for hours, drafting, revising, locking every door Ryan thought he could open. At the center of it all was my grandson, 3 years old, bright eyes, a laugh that filled my house with life again. This trust, James explained, will secure his future, college, health, a home one day, and no one, not even his father, can touch it. I signed the papers. Every stroke of my pen felt like a nail in Ryan's coffin. When we finished, James leaned back. You understand, Walter. Once this is filed, Ryan is completely cut out. No access, no power, no way back in. I met his eyes. That's the point. I pictured Ryan's smug face at the dinner table, the way he laughed at me, the way Emily defended him, torn in two. And now, I imagined the look in his eyes when he realized the money he thought he could leech from this family was gone, forever. I left the office with the trust papers in hand. Not just documents, not just ink on paper, but a weapon. A weapon sharp enough to end Ryan's illusions, and silent enough that he wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. It was a Friday night. Emily invited me for dinner. I almost didn't go, but something inside told me I needed to be there. The house smelled of roast chicken. Laughter from the TV filled the background. For a moment, it almost felt normal. Then Ryan walked in, late, tie loosened, that smirk plastered across his face. He poured himself a drink before even saying hello. Then he sat across from me and leaned back in his chair. You know, Walter, he said, swirling the glass, men like you had their time, but that time is over. You'll die with nothing, and I'll be the one taking care of Emily and the boy. Not you. Emily's eyes darted between us. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. I didn't move, I didn't speak, I just stared into his eyes. And in that silence, something shifted, because he saw it. For the first time, he saw it. Not weakness, not surrender, but fire. He laughed nervously, looking away. See? He doesn't even deny it. But he was wrong. I wasn't denying anything. I was promising. Promising that his words would be the last straw. Promising that the quiet old man he mocked was gone. And what came next would end him. Sunday evening, Emily asked the family to gather again. A meal. A chance to heal, she said. But I knew better. This wasn't about healing. It was about truth. The table was crowded, plates clattered, voices overlapped, until I stood. I have something to say. Every head turned. Ryan leaned back, smirking like always. Here we go again, he muttered. I pulled a thick envelope from my jacket, placed it on the table. Ryan, why don't you open this? He frowned, grabbed the papers, and tore them open. At first, his face stayed smug. Then his eyes widened. The color drained. It was a bank statement. My name. My balance. 8 figures staring back at him in black and white. The room fell silent. You could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Ryan's lips parted, but no sound came. My sister gasped. Emily covered her mouth. I looked straight at him. You called me a poor old man, but tonight, you learn the truth. He stammered. This isn't real. It can't be. But it was. Every dollar earned, every acre owned, every sacrifice recorded. And in that moment, the power shifted. He was no longer the man in control. He was a boy exposed. The smirk vanished. The room watched in silence, and I stood taller than I had in years. Ryan's hand shook as he flipped through the bank statement. His lips moved, but no words came out. The man who once laughed at me looked like a boy caught stealing. But I wasn't finished. You think this is just money, Ryan? Just numbers in a bank? He tried to smile, but it cracked. You can't scare me with old savings. I stepped closer. This isn't savings. This is control. I pulled out a second folder. Inside were contracts, signed, stamped, legally mine. Do you know what these are? He glanced down. His face went pale. It was a note purchase agreement. I had bought his delinquent loan from the recovery desk at Lone Star Bank. Every dollar he owed, every overdue payment, now belonged to me. You called me a poor old man, I said. But tonight, I own your debt. Your future doesn't run through Lone Star anymore. It runs through me. The room gasped. Emily's fork clattered against her plate. My sister whispered, Lord have mercy. Ryan staggered back, gripping the chair. You can't. But he knew. He knew it was real. I leaned close, my voice steady as steel. You thought silence meant weakness, but silence was my weapon. And tonight, that silence just signed your sentence. The smirk was gone. The lies collapsed. And Ryan Miller was finished. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone on my porch in Dallas. The air was still, the sky heavy with stars. Emily walked out, her son in her arms. The boy ran to me, climbing into my lap, his laughter cutting through the silence. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Ryan was gone, his lies exposed, his power stripped away. And all I had to do was wait. Wait in silence. Wait while he destroyed himself with greed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a punch. I didn't need to, because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just patience. And sometimes silence is the sharpest blade of all. I looked at my grandson, his tiny hands gripping mine. This was who I fought for. Not pride, not wealth, but legacy. Ryan thought I was a poor old man. He thought I was nothing. But tonight, he knows the truth. And as the Texas night wrapped around me, I whispered to myself, justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just waits. And when it strikes, it leaves nothing standing. I leaned back in my chair. The boy's head rested on my chest. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was free. I know what you're thinking. An old man, a quiet man, turning silence into justice. Maybe you've been there too. Maybe someone underestimated you, called you weak, dismissed you, forgot the battles you fought to stand where you are today. I carried that weight for years. The stares, the whispers, the insults. And every time I stayed silent, not because I was broken, but because silence gave me power. It gave me patience. And when the time came, silence gave me revenge. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted most? A friend, a spouse, a family member? How did it change you? Tell me in the comments. Your story might be the one someone else needs to hear tonight. And if you've carried pain quietly, if you've waited in silence for justice, know this, you are not alone. This channel is more than stories. It's a place for people like us, people who know betrayal, people who understand that revenge isn't always violence. Sometimes it's survival. Sometimes it's truth. If my story touched you, stay with me. There are more stories to tell, more voices to be heard. Hit subscribe, not for me, but for you, because the next story might be yours.